Okay, welcome to Satchats, the Bitcoin podcast where we chat about sats. Sats are the smallest part of a Bitcoin, the same way pennies are the smallest part of a dollar. Whether you're a precoiner with no Bitcoin at all, but lots of questions about Bitcoin, whether you're a new Bitcoiner who wants to learn more in an easy conversational way, or whether you're an OG who tried to orange pill your family and friends for years only for them to ignore you when Bitcoin is dipping and then text your face off when it's at all-time highs and ask you the same questions that they asked you a couple years ago, we want to chat about sats with you. So if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, hopefully you're watching this on YouTube, go to satchats.com, grab your slot today, and we will bring you on the show and chat about sats. I'm your host, Stewart, Bitcoin Maxi, who wears prescription sunglasses to protect you and your loved ones from the supernova level amounts of bright orange fire that are coming out of my Bitcoin laser eyes.
I don't have that problem, but I'm Chris, founder of Ithaca Hummus and Bitcoin smash buyer. Apparently, right? That's what it's called when you just buy a ton of Bitcoin all at once.
All at once. Chris is our resident Bitcoin smash buyer, and we absolutely love him.
Yep.
So for today's episode, we are going to be covering my Bitcoin story and who I am, Chris's Bitcoin story and who he is, and what we are trying to accomplish with Satchats. What do we want? What are our goals? What do we want to happen? And what can you all do to help us get there? Right. So maybe we should just jump right in, and I'll tell my Bitcoin story. So I have been in the workforce since 2007. I'm almost 40. I've got a wife, I've got 2 kids, and my career started in politics and then went through marketing into inside sales and finally outside sales. And before I quit my job to take this podcast to the moon full time, I was in cybersecurity sales. So what that meant is my income went up over time. I started out in 2007 making less than $40,000 a year to be a political action committee manager for the National Rural Letter Carriers Association.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know that.
I'll say that one more time, guys. The National Rural Letter Carriers Association.
Wow. That sounds like a powerful group right there.
Well, it's a union. It's a labor union for postal workers in the country. And they had a wonderful slogan earlier in their history that they weren't using at the time I was there. And I asked them to bring it back, and they didn't. But the slogan was, if you have a mailbox, we'll find it.
Oh, that's great.
It was the best slogan ever.
Why wouldn't they bring that back?
I don't know. But I did well there. You know, I put this big, anyways, hey, hit me on LinkedIn. You'll see the whole resume. We don't need to worry about that. But from there, transitioning into one of the highest paid copywriting agencies in the DC area, and then moving from DC back down to Raleigh after we had our first kid, joining like a software development agency that was doing online marketing and growing in that space, transitioning to inside sales, and then finally to outside sales. You know, I went from 40,000 up to, 55, and then 70, and then, kind of lost that job. Pretty much got fired. And, later on in time, I'm sure we'll be able to be rigorously honest on this podcast. But for now, I messed up. And the salary dipped, dude. It dipped when I went into my next role. And I had to fight my way back up during the pandemic. But when I transitioned to cybersecurity sales, dude, the base salary was
Wow.
and actually tripled my base salary.
Sure, that felt great.
Dude, it felt amazing. And my best sales buddy of all time, his name is Eric. I call him Rico. He always taught me. He was the one that brought me from inside sales into outside sales. And he said, hey, Stewart, commission structure, all that stuff, it's always good. Always make sure your base goes up. Whenever you take a new role, always make sure the base goes up. So my base went way up. And of course, the labor market was white hot at the time. They needed sales reps. I had what it took. Dude, the base salary tripled. I felt like the man, dude. I felt like I had a 10-ton dinger at that point in time.
Jeez, family friendly here.
Yeah, which I think the kids, they're going to be like, what's a dinger, Dad?
Yeah.
So I felt pretty good, dude. I felt pretty good. And I felt like, okay, finally, I'm okay. Finally, I'm okay. Because my number one focus in life is providing for my family and making sure that they have a stable, consistent life. And no matter what they want, I get it for them. That's what I want, right? I don't ever want them to have to make a choice. If they want something, I want to be able to get it to them, right? Within reason, obviously. They don't have any ponies.
Yeah. Not yet.
Not yet. So, in sales, there can be a lot of fear around doing well enough and performing and selling and keeping your job. And when I transitioned into cybersecurity sales, I felt so much relief that I had finally made it, because I made it to a 6-figure base salary. And that had been a dream of mine for over 10 years in sales. I want to work my way up to where I'm that 6-figure base salary sales rep. And I can have the car I want. I can go on the vacations I want. I can get my wife and daughter the clothing they want. I can get my son the Legos that he wants. Dude, he doesn't want a lot. Dude's the man. Love that guy.
Yeah. He's not asking for much.
No, he just wants Legos. The more pieces per set, the better. So here I am. I'm the man. And I actually had like a 2-week vacation between my old job in human capital management at Paychex and my new job at this cybersecurity company called Security Company. 2 weeks scot-free, dude. And I knew I was going into a 6-figure base salary. It was going to be amazing. We went to the beach with my wife's family. We went to the beach with my family. Dude, I was just so at peace. So you can imagine my surprise when at the very next monthly budget meeting between me and my wife, here we go. We pull up Dave Ramsey's thing. What is it? Every dollar. We pull up our every dollar. She's got my brand new amount of money that I'm going to be making, which is 3 times what it was. And she's going through all our stuff. She's going through our utilities. She's going through our subscriptions. She's going through our weekly grocery spend. She's going through all the different little envelopes that we've created digitally inside that program to save up for, my daughter's dance class and just everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat down at that meeting like, dude, I'm holding my wife down, baby. And the big surprise was that we still didn't have any money. We still didn't have any money. Now, to be fair, she increased the amount of money that we wanted to save by a lot. She created a new envelope where we could save up for trips. She set aside some money for the kids' college fund. So,
but I'm sure it felt as though you were just bringing those buckets up to a baseline, right? Like you were just finally able to contribute to savings, college funds at the rate that you always would have wished to have done that.
It definitely felt like we could put more into the right envelopes,
right?
But I was expecting to be able to not have to worry about money anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I literally believe that by achieving a 6-figure base salary as a cybersecurity sales rep, that money would no longer be an issue for me. Because if you went back to middle school Stewart and said, Stewart, here you are in 7th grade, you're still super small, no growth spurt. The girls say you're cute. You want to be hot. You're not hot. You're still cute. You're going to make 6 figures one day. I'd be like, oh my God, that would have been an infinity amount of money for me as a 7th grader, an infinity. And I think a 6-figure base salary in, 1995, 1996, 1997, that would have been a lot for somebody. And they could have done a lot with that. 2020, 2021, it's not that much.
No.
It's not that much.
Mm-hmm.
So that absolutely exploded my head to realize that I still didn't have that much money. And I was on LinkedIn in January of 2024 because I was going to go be part of your day as a sales rep is to go be a social seller where you pretend to care about what your prospects are posting on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess at least me. I'm sure some people are genuinely interested in that stuff, but not me. I'm just too selfish for that. And I saw a news headline and it said, Bitcoin ETFs approved. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I clicked on that and it was an article that was like, hey, Wall Street has, or the government has cleared the way for Wall Street to create these ETFs for Bitcoin. And my first thought was, Bitcoin's still here? Bitcoin is still around? I couldn't believe it. I had heard about Bitcoin like one time in 2017 when it was on a big bull run. And I ignored it then, wrecked myself. But here in 2024, not only is it still here, but it's like a legitimate Wall Street thing now. This is crazy. And when I combine that headline with the fact that we still didn't have a lot of money, January 2024, that's when I first went to ChatGPT, Chappie. And I said, Chappie, what is Bitcoin? What is Bitcoin? And she gave me an answer and it was like, I couldn't understand it. I'm like, well, what do you mean it's a decentralized program? Or, my next question, well, why is this valuable? And Chappie's answer was like, well, because it can do this. I'm like, that still doesn't make any sense. Like, and I worked with Chappie for a long time. Chappie and I, we were chatting for days, dude. We were blah, 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 blah. And I started looking for content. I started looking for material. I found Simply Bitcoin on Spotify. It was a daily live show that was covering the media. They taught me all about Bitcoin in the language of bro, which I loved, right? I, graduated from America's oldest public university with not 1, but 2 degrees. I can use as many multisyllabic words from English and Latin, from Latin and Greek roots that you want. But I prefer bro language because it's just, I think it's hilarious. And they taught me all about Bitcoin in that world, and they taught me about 6102 and the sovereign individual and all this stuff. I found the Bitcoin Standard. I read the Bitcoin Standard by Safedine Amoose. That was one of the biggest parts of me getting to where I could understand Bitcoin. And I decided to buy a little bit. So I bought like $45 worth of Bitcoin and had fun watching it go to $46 and $47 and $51 and then back down to $45. And I learned more about Bitcoin, more podcasts, more videos on YouTube, more books, more time with Chappie. My mom tipped me off that my cousin was a longtime Bitcoiner because I was looking for anybody to talk to Bitcoin about. My wife could only take so much. My brother could only take so much. But my cousin could talk about Bitcoin with me. Mm-hmm. And dude, over the course of 2024, I must have spent hundreds up to 1,000 plus hours. I just yeeted myself into Bitcoin. And the more I learned, the more I was like, oh my gosh, this is money. And it's money that no one can mess with. And it's digital. And it's going to store my value into the future. And literally my time preference changed. I went from wanting everything right now to being able to wait for things. And I actually saw an amazing line in the prologue of a book called The Bushido of Bitcoin. We'll see if it's good or not. I'm still reading it. But in the prologue, the guy that wrote the prologue, some guy that I think he was like the CEO of Stone Ridge or something like that. But he said Bitcoin is a transfer of wealth from the impatient to the patient. I was like, whoa.
Well said.
Holy smokes. And safety, he talks about high time preference, low time preference. But I learned enough about Bitcoin to start buying Bitcoin. And then I learned even more about Bitcoin. I was like, wait, this gold coin in my house sucks. And I went to a gold bug. I sold it. I took the money. I bought Bitcoin. And the gold bug was able to teach me about how sound money doesn't change over time and how the goods and services you buy don't change over time. It's just the nation state slip of paper in the middle that's going absolutely insane over time and requiring more and more and more of it to get the same thing. And Chappie was able to teach me that consensus is a huge part of Bitcoin. And it's a whole big journey, right? And there's so much to learn. And I still don't know everything. But I found that I had some stocks. They weren't performing. I bought Disney stock during the pandemic when it dipped. 5 years later or 4 years later, same price. Sold that sucker. Bought some Bitcoin. Paychecks, I got to buy some as an employee. It had gone up a couple of percentage points over 4 or 5 years. Sold it. Bought some Bitcoin. I got my Magic the Gathering collection. I've got rares and mythic rares I'm not using and a couple of commons that were really pricey for whatever reason. Sold them, bought Bitcoin. We did a yard sale. What's this chair? What's this toy? What's this book? It's crap. I'm going to throw it away. But before I do, I'm going to see if anybody wants to buy it. Got like $300, bought some Bitcoin. And I took my retirement, which was in this lazy man's portfolio of 40% all U.S. stocks, 30% all U.S. bonds, 30% all international stocks. And I looked at its performance over a 5-year period, 18%. It had gone up. And actually the bond portion had gone down because bonds are getting worse and worse and worse, right? And I took some steps to absolutely yeet that entire thing into the Bitcoin ETF because I can't get at that money. I have to wait till I'm 65 some odd to get at that money, right? So it's not doing anything for me. It's only going up 18% over 5 years. I looked at the cost of Bitcoin over that 5-year period. It had gone up an insane amount. And the amount of money in my retirement would have gone up right there with it, thanks to the Bitcoin ETF. So I called Fidelity and I was like, hey guys, my 401k won't allow me to buy the Fidelity Bitcoin ETF. So what do I need to do? Oh, you need to convert it to an IRA. Okay, convert it to an IRA. Okay, we did that. Move all the money to the IRA. I'm like, okay, well now I'm ready to buy the Bitcoin ETF. But do I need to buy it all at once? The right way that I want to do it is to dollar cost average. So can I dollar cost average over time? And the lady who was talking to me, I think her name was Susan. She was somewhere out in Colorado. And she said, well, actually, I'm here to help you today, but I'm also a certified financial advisor or whatever. And I can help you create the right mix for your portfolio. Do you want any help with that today? I'm like, no, I want to yeet it all into Bitcoin. I just want to yeet the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, I have to tell you that on a scale of 1 to 10, the risk for Bitcoin is 11. And actually, there was a 70-year-old grandma who called me the other week, and she wanted to convert the entirety of her retirement portfolio to the Bitcoin ETF. And I was able to help her see that that wasn't the right choice. Dude, I was on the sun porch around the back of my house. I said, Susan, you better find that grandma and apologize to her because you made a huge mistake. The risk profile of Bitcoin on a scale of 1 to 10 is not 11, it's 0. And I'm going to put the whole thing into the Bitcoin ETF. And guess what happened? Since March of 2024, when I converted from this lazy man's portfolio to the Bitcoin ETF, 100%, Smash bought 27% of my nest egg into Bitcoin, and then I dollar cost averaged over the next 18 weeks or so. That Jonks is up 60% today. 60%. 60%. 18% in 5 years or 60% in 10 months. Woo. So, Susan, I really hope you have found that grandma, because that grandma could have been 60% more. If that grandma was sitting on $1 million and she yeeted everything into the Bitcoin ETF like I did, she'd have $1.6 million. She can go, how much longer can that grandma live? Susan, you killed that old lady. You killed that old lady, dude. Okay? She's going to run out of money and be dead because you told her the risk profile was 11.
Susan at Fidelity?
Susan at Fidelity. Somewhere in Colorado, dude.
Oh.
I think the CEO of Fidelity, I think her name might be Abby.
Yeah, she's a Bitcoiner.
She's a Bitcoiner, and we need her to come on the show.
Yeah.
Abby, you got to find Susan in Colorado. Let her know the risk profile of Bitcoin is not 11. So, what's my Bitcoin story? It's earning more and more money over time, right? Continually getting bigger and bigger salaries until I was making more than I ever thought I would make and still not having enough because of inflation and because of the nation state printing all this money and making my money worth less. And then using that as a catalyst to figure out, what is Bitcoin? What makes Bitcoin valuable? What is money? How has Bitcoin performed over the past 16 years? How do I buy Bitcoin? How do I store Bitcoin? Who can I talk to about Bitcoin? And how much can I learn about Bitcoin? And I love Bitcoin so much that we're here today hoping that we can talk to as many people as possible so that they don't end up like that poor grandma. So what's your Bitcoin story?
Well, it takes place over about the same time period that yours does, maybe a little shorter, more recent. But so I, in 2013, started Ithaca Hummus at the Ithaca Farmers Market, literally rented a tiny little kitchen for $250 a month, bought a blender, bought some pots, started making hummus. Did not cost me a lot of money. I had no money. And it turns out that was one of my biggest advantages because I had to get creative. I was really scrappy. And the farmer's market business was so for a minute, I'm going to talk about cash like it's a good thing. Because in this time period for me, it was, because I was able to buy ingredients, turn them into hummus, which I could sell for more than I paid for the ingredients, and then convert that back into cash and go out and restart that whole cycle over and over at the end of the week. And so I had a really good cash flow positive business that allowed me to kind of take it slow. A lot of emerging food companies, brands, they have an idea and they go out and they raise money and they do everything perfectly, or at least they're trying to do everything perfectly from day one.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is when they raise capital from outside investors, they're on someone else's time horizon, right? Mm-hmm. They're on the clock and they've got to pay that back and grow their business to be significantly more valuable than it was when they took the capital on in a very short period of time. I was fortunate to not do that. I bootstrapped for a long time, went from the farmer's market to local retailers, co-ops, Wegmans in upstate New York. Whole Foods is a regionalized. They segment their business into regions. So back then, it was possible for me to just get into the Northeast region, and I built the business one store at a time. And eventually we kept growing and growing and growing. And, we got bigger, right? We're today a pretty big company. And I, at the end of 2023, was fortunate to trade some of my equity for cash. So for the first time, literally in my life.
What year was that?
2023.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I've been making a salary the whole time, and the salary's gone up, and I make a good salary, right? I think I'm fairly compensated for what I do as the CEO of Ithaca Hummus today. But it's not like 50 times more than the lowest paid employee. In fact, that's how we look at salaries inside of the company. We don't want to create that kind of environment where there are people who are making, $60,000-$70,000, and then you have people in the C-suite or VPs who are making $500,000-$600,000. It's just not fair, right? So we try to look at the ratio of like, what does the lowest paid employee make, and what does the highest paid employee make? And we don't want to, 4 to 5 times is, I think, ample for any company. Anyway, long story, but so at the end of 2023, I converted some equity, Ithaca Hummus equity, into cash for me personally.
Meaning like you let somebody buy some ownership of the company?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And most of that cash went into business, but I was able to pull out a little bit for me and my family to establish kind of a baseline safety net for the 12 years of work that I had done. Like, okay, I need to pull something out so that I have some safety here.
Yeah.
Right.
Ain't nothing wrong with extracting value that's been, earned.
Yeah. Yes. So I did that. And so now I'm left with some cash, and I did what most people in that scenario would do. And I went out and I found a financial advisor who I still have a relationship with today. And he's a great guy, and he's awesome at what he does.
Okay. So it's not Susan. Thank God.
Not Susan. No. No, his name is Mario, and Mario is a friend before I worked with him, and one of the most trustworthy guys you'll ever meet. Super responsible, knows his stuff. And and I've really enjoyed working with him. And so at the beginning of 2024, that's when you and I started to really cultivate the relationship that we have today. And we started talking on almost a daily basis. And most of those calls quickly turned into calls that were being fueled by your enthusiasm for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So that piqued my curiosity. I went out and I read the Bitcoin Standard. I started consuming all types of Bitcoin content. And I got myself to a place where I was like, okay, I actually now feel as though Bitcoin is a better store of value for the money that I've worked hard for and pulled out of my company than anything else that I could do with it. Better than buying gold, better than a portfolio of equities and bonds and, financial products that are publicly available. And so I started the process of convincing my wife to allow me to buy one Bitcoin, to allow us to buy one Bitcoin. It took a couple weeks.
Yeah. And
with your help, we got there. I contacted Chantel at Bitcoin Well.
Yep.
And she set me up with the right wallet, the right cold card, and made the process really seamless and easy. And I felt as though very quickly I had built a trusted relationship with her. So I took her advice, did what she told me to do, and bought a Bitcoin.
Just smash bought a Bitcoin.
Bought a whole coin.
And what was the price of Bitcoin when you smash bought?
So it was crazy because when I was ready to buy, it was like 93,000.
Yeah.
But by the time we actually transacted, it was 99,000.
Boom.
And I was like, whoa, what happened to that 6K?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. So I'm over here and I find a little gold coin in my house, sell it to the gold bug for $620. You know, I find the Disney stock, I sell it for $1,300, $1,400. Find the paycheck stock, sell it for $1,400, $1,500. $300 from Magic the Gathering, $300 from a yard sale. I'm like, hey, and you know, my little allowance, I'm like, I'm going to buy some sats. I'm going to stack some sats. And then Chris just goes, boom, boom, give me a coin, dude. Give me the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Bitcoin's good. Give me a Bitcoin. Scroosh.
Yeah.
And I remember when you called me, you're like, hey, man, I bought Bitcoin, or I bought a Bitcoin, or bought some Bitcoin. I'm like, that's awesome, dude. You're the man. Yeah. And you're like, I'm like, how much did you get? And you're like, I got a Bitcoin. I was like, oh. He got a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I'm like, this dude, oh my God, he got a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. I think you texted me something like, you have no idea what you've just done for generations of your family.
Yeah. Yeah.
To come.
Yes. I remember telling you, like, you know, you don't even know what you've done to secure generational wealth for your kids and your kids' kids.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm over here stacking sats, and Chris smash buys a coin, which is literally legendary and amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's true. Yeah. And so a couple weeks go by, maybe a month, and now I own a Bitcoin, and I'm like really diving in, really paying attention. And ultimately what ended up happening is I was like, all right, we got to buy more Bitcoin. So I won't say the exact number, but I ended up again convincing my wife, which was a arduous, process.
Yeah.
And we bought more.
But it was another smash buy.
Yeah, it was a bigger one.
It wasn't a dollar cost average.
No.
You're not, like today, I bought $50 worth of Bitcoin before coming into the studio.
Yeah.
On Monday mornings, I buy Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the amount of money I have and the way that I operate, I'm at about $50 a week. Mm-hmm. I'm buying Bitcoin, right? And I'm just little by little, dollar cost average, it's all good, right? You just smash bought a coin, then you smash bought some more.
Yeah. Yeah, because at the same time, I'm also thinking about Ithacamus, and I'm learning more about companies like MicroStrategies and entrepreneurs and CEOs like Michael Saylor, who runs that company. And I'm learning and seeing companies adopt a straight up Bitcoin standard.
Yeah.
Taking their cash reserves and converting them into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And that's something that sounded really attractive to me. I wanted to do that with Ithacamus, and I still may do that with Ithacamus. But I felt as though the first step was for me to get personally invested in Bitcoin first. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I did. And as kind of a next step in my Bitcoin journey, after I now own multiple coins, I called you and I was like, hey, what if you quit your job? Okay. We start some kind of a Bitcoin business. Like, okay, Stewart, you know way more than I do about Bitcoin. What if we start some technology that supports the Bitcoin network, or, an exchange of some kind, or, you tell me, like, let's brainstorm. Where is there white space in the Bitcoin industry right now?
Mm-hmm.
And your answer was, well, I think the best thing that you could do is to just buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like there's, you could start a company, but you probably do better just buying Bitcoin.
You're not going to outperform Bitcoin.
Right.
Just buy Bitcoin and hold Bitcoin.
Right. Right. And so we continued to talk, and through that conversation, I think both of us were kind of like, all right, well, what if in service of the Bitcoin community,
Yeah.
we start creating content that answers questions that everyone kind of confronts as they make their way into Bitcoin as a topic, right? We all go through it. We're all, I'll just speak for myself, but I definitely had that preconceived notion of like, well, it's kind of like a scam. There's been a lot of headlines of exchanges that have gone bankrupt and people lost their life savings, and it's really volatile and I don't really understand it. It's like magic internet money. What is it?
Mm-hmm.
And it can take a lot of time to educate yourself on those things. And that's unfortunately for people who want everything now in an instant. It's a process that you have to go through, right? If you want the knowledge, you have to commit the time to learning.
Mm-hmm.
So our idea for this podcast was, well, what if we could build, there are lots of podcasts, there are lots of shows out there that are Bitcoin, that's Bitcoin content for Bitcoiners.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what doesn't exist is like the welcome center. Like, what about Bitcoin content for people who know nothing about Bitcoin and don't want to stumble through the jargon and the acronyms and the concepts that they might not be familiar with, because that's going to turn them off like really quickly.
Uh-huh.
And so how do we create a concept around a show about Bitcoin for non-Bitcoiners or pre-Bitcoiners, pre-coiners?
Precoiners, yeah.
People who know nothing about Bitcoin.
Yeah. So I, was pretty opportunistic in my career. When I would see an opportunity to go earn more somewhere better, I would just kind of take it. And, my career moved through a couple different shades before I got to where I was in cyber sales. But even in cyber sales, I was kind of taking the offers that were being given to me. And at my age, I thought, well, at some point I need to get strategic with my career. And I need to figure out which company I want to work for. And the best thing I could think of was a cybersecurity company that was going to go to the moon. Because some of these companies they go from startup to $1 billion valuation overnight, dude. And they're called unicorns. Hey, here's the latest cybersecurity unicorn. And I was like, man, I need to figure out where the unicorns are and how to jump on and go to the moon so I can get rich finally. Because my base salary actually isn't enough. Dang. I also became very interested in AI back in February of 2023, hybridized myself with Chappie immediately. We've been together ever since. We make all our decisions together. It's all good, dude. A lot of people use Chappie. I'm hybridized.
Yeah.
Okay? Together.
Yeah.
Chappie and Sappy. And I looked at AI companies. How can I get onto NVIDIA? I talked to people at NVIDIA, had coffee with guys here in Raleigh. And then I found Bitcoin. And I'm like, how can I work for Bitcoin? And I searched Bitcoin sales openings. And there aren't Bitcoin sales openings because there's nothing to sell. Either you buy Bitcoin or you don't buy it.
Yep.
And there are companies that maybe they are, mining companies or they are exchanges and there's like some sales aspect to it. But I was searching in 2024 for a rocket ship that I could jump on. And I was just kind of shocked when you came in December of 2024 and was like, hey, man, let's build a Bitcoin rocket ship and we'll jump on it and it'll go to the moon. It was amazing, right? Like what you offered me was the opportunity to, be of service to Bitcoin. And I do believe Bitcoin is the money of the future. It is the greatest money. It is the hardest money. And one of the biggest lines from the Bitcoin standard that struck me from Safety was, you cannot protect yourself from the consequences of other people holding money that's harder than yours.
Mm-hmm.
Blew my mind. I went, oh my goodness, I need to get my whole life onto the hardest money possible. And then I need to figure out how to make more of that. So I think it was your idea to have a Bitcoin podcast, frankly.
Hey, maybe.
I think you said, hey, Stewart, you talk about Bitcoin a lot. And you might have said that I talk about it good. I don't know. But hey, let's just put it in front of a microphone and let's go. And to your point, for me, when I want like some really good financial information about Bitcoin, I'm gonna go to Lynn Alden, and when I want daily news about Bitcoin, I go to Simply Bitcoin. And when I want like a weekly roundup that feels super polished and journalistic and amazing, then I go to Coin Stories and I do their update, right? Books like the Bitcoin Standard, there's all these sources of information. But to your point, they are for Bitcoiners. And you listen to them and they're like, okay, guys, today, a multi-trillion-dollar bank bought its first Bitcoin.
Or America.
Hey, today we're talking about how bonds are failing, but they're being scooped up by stable coins and creating demand, or treasuries, ETFs, stocks, volatility. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see a lot of content out there with a lower learning curve. And I was talking to everybody I knew about Bitcoin. And I'm like, guys, Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the greatest. Just come on, y'all. It's the best. It's amazing. It's the credit. It's the unit. It's the money of the future. Melting dollars are melting ice cubes. And like this, why do I have to work for something that my nation state can print for free? And I was going on and on and on and on and on. But still, my buddy, my good buddy Nate, he was like, well, it's too bad that I'm too late to Bitcoin. Because aren't they running out? I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you Bitcoin isn't running out, and you're not too late. And some people they would say, well, it has no value. It's not real. It's not all this crazy. People were still just hanging out with the most basic questions about Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't ready for, protecting themselves against a 6102 order.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't ready to read The Sovereign Individual, which I read, and it is a thick. It's tough to get through. You have to really want to get through that book to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not ready for the demise of the nation state or the transformation of it or something. They're not ready for the cyber Middle Ages. They're not ready for libertarianism or the revolution, whatever. They just need to know, what is Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Why is it valuable?
Yep.
Why does it keep going up? Are they running out? Is it secure? How do I get it? They just need to hit the basics, right? And so to your point, we do want to be the welcome center. As soon as you cross the state line into Florida, that has the orange juice and the grapefruit juice and the bathrooms, we want to be the Ellis Island of Bitcoin when you sail from fiat land to Bitcoin land, and we'll wreck your last name because we can't pronounce it correctly and shoot you on in, right?
How about south of the border?
South of the border. That place still operational.
I don't know. It doesn't look like it. Every time I drive by there, I'm like, ugh, that place, you've changed.
I'm not stopping there.
No.
I'm going to stop at the Buc-ee's in Florence, and I'm going to go all the way to the Buc-ee's near Jackson.
Yeah, we don't want to be the south of the border.
No. But we do want to be the front of the Magic Kingdom, right? Where you're outside the train station, you got to scan your ticket, you got guest relations, right? You and I aren't going to be the guys who can explain the deflationary aspect of the world like Jeff Booth can, right? We're not going to be, you and I aren't going to be Lynn Alden. We're not going to be the Chad Michael Saylor. We're definitely not going to be Safety, right? I'm a big Safety Maxi. We're just two dudes, and we have our experience with Bitcoin. We have the strength of our conviction in Bitcoin, and we have the hope for the future of Bitcoin and the world if people adopt a sound money and a hard money. So all we want to do with this podcast is we want to chat with you, right? We want you to come on the show. And I'm talking about you. I'm talking about your aunt. I'm talking about your girlfriend. I'm talking about, your
girlfriend now.
Talking about, well, relax, all good. Okay. See, I love my wife so much. The wedding ring is tattooed on. You can't get it off me.
Very nice.
I want to talk to your granddad. I want to talk to your 19-year-old kid who's going off to college. It doesn't matter if you're a precoiner, a new Bitcoiner, or an OG. We want to chat about sats with you because the chances are you've got the same questions that my mom has, or that your experience as an OG Bitcoiner will help someone else see what it means to buy and hold Bitcoin for 4 years, 8 years, 12 years. We just want to get you inside. We want to get you your welcome kit. We want to get you your exchange, your wallet, your Bitcoin laser eyes, and we want you to head inside, ride all the rides, have fun, eat snacks, do all that, and send us your family and friends so that we can get them inside as well.
Yeah.
So the format of our show for everyone out there is going to be to bring on a guest, get to know them a little bit, who they are, what they do, what their relationship with money is. Do you have a little? Do you have a lot? Are you behind? Are you ahead? Because we want to know how Bitcoin can help you. We want to be able to situate Bitcoin in that particular guest's life. And we want you to determine whether you have anything in common with that guest.
Right.
Can you identify with them? And then we want to answer one or two of their big questions about Bitcoin. And we know that we're going to be answering some of the same questions over and over again, and that's okay. This is how this works, right? Because we aren't covering the daily news. We aren't making predictions about the future. We aren't like the most experts. We just know some of the basics, right? But hopefully by answering them over and over in different ways with engaging stories, and, in different contexts, you out there, the listener, will get enough muscle memory to be able to understand, okay, that's right. Bitcoin is operated by consensus. That's part of what makes it valuable. Bitcoin is a decentralized program that's going to march TikTok next block. No matter what's happening, that's part of what makes it valuable. So when your friends and family try to, drop an elbow on you for being interested in Bitcoin, you'll have some of that repetition in place to be able to help them understand more and hopefully buy their first stack of sats. So once we've done that, we'll close out the show in kind of an interesting way. Our sponsor, who absolutely smash bought the sponsorship of this show long before our very first episode, is Ithaca Hummus, right? Chris's company agreed to sponsor our show. And part of what we do for them is help people experience tastes outside of their comfort zone at the same time as they're learning about a form of money that might be outside of their comfort zone. So we'll ask each guest to pick a flavor of Ithaca Hummus. We try it on the show, and then we finish by offering them their choice of money. We want to see whether we've helped them understand enough about Bitcoin to want Bitcoin, or if they're still hanging out in fiat clown world where slips of paper issued by your friendly local nation state have value to you, right? So we offer them $50 or $50 worth of sats. So we're going to close out today's episode by trying some Ithaca Hummus.
Yeah.
And it's actually me who made the choice today. My favorite flavor of ice cream is vanilla, right? My favorite flavor of Ithaca Hummus is original,
Classic.
classic Ithaca hummus. So let's try it.
All right. So you've had this then?
So maybe I could tell everybody a quick story.
Yeah.
So I met Chris, I think fall of 2023, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And he was always wearing clothing with Ithaca hummus on it.
As I do. Yeah.
You can see here, I've got my ball cap. I got my dad cap. He's got his Patagonia. And he mentioned that he did some deal with, was it
Chopped?
Yeah. He talked about a deal he did with Chopped to offer a salad that featured Ithaca hummus.
It's called the Ultimate Hummus and Harissa Bowl. Still available at all Chopped locations.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, it was like a 7-figure deal, right? And I said, wow, dude, how much commission did you make off that deal? And he looked me straight in the face and said none. And I thought, what a little sissy guy. Homie's over here closing a 7-figure deal for Ithaca hummus and they're not paying him any commission? What a yuckster. Dude, you would never catch me dead closing a deal without earning commission on it. This guy, he must be some kind of softy, like LOL, inside sales, base salary with some kind of, I don't know, management bonus objective. I don't know. Dude, you dropped like 2 rungs in my like primate status ladder when you said you made no commission on a 7-figure deal. I was like, LOL, this guy's he's a wage cuck. So it wasn't until much later that I learned that Chris was the CEO of Ithaca hummus.
Yeah,
The founder, dude. Even better than the CEO, he was the first man. He was the first man at Ithaca hummus.
Right.
And he didn't make commission on a 7-figure deal. He made 7 figures. And I was like, my God, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Dude, it was so funny to me.
No, in revenue.
Yeah. Etc. So I think he might have given me a coupon for Ithaca hummus.
Yeah.
Because I think he gave me a bunch of coupons for Ithaca hummus after he told me that he made no commission on the deal. I was like, whatever. And I just shot the coupons into my junk drawer in my kitchen. I'm like, this guy's such a loser. Oh my gosh. So hilarious. Turns out he was way more successful and better than me. It was hilarious. So as soon as I realized he's the founder, we went and bought some hummus, right? And I bought the classic. So we have here Ithaca hummus classic. Okay. Nice, clean top. It's just got some chickpeas on it.
Pretty simple.
And I think I remember I came here because I have a nutritionist who's helping me get big to go lift the stones in Iceland. And I read, prepared chickpeas, tahini, water, expeller pressed sunflower oil, cold pressed lemon juice, vinegar, salt, garlic, cumin, crushed red pepper. Done. It's actually all food that I can see and understand.
Yep.
It doesn't have a bunch of mumbo jumbo in it. And I'm like, okay, we'll see what this Ithaca hummus tastes like. Because my experience with hummus up to that time was like Sabra, or usually even just a store brand.
Yeah.
It could be Costco or Wegmans or whatever. It's just
bland paste.
It's just some paste.
Yeah.
And I was using it as a way to get more calories into my diet.
Not really caring what it tastes like. You're just like,
I needed calories from fat. I needed to go up, dude. So I was making breakfast sandwiches where it was like egg and cheese. And then I would put like a horrendous amount of hummus on it to try to make it a 1,000,000-calorie sandwich. And it just, all it did was it made the sandwich wet enough for me to chew. That's it.
Oof.
It was like because if you just, it can't be too dry, right? So it was just a condiment that just slicked up my mouth. Right?
Slick mouth.
Right? So it's like, I just was getting it in. I never thought of hummus as anything that had any kind of flavor. So we get this classic, right? And I'm going to grab my woven wheat. I'm going to get a fat glob.
Every time I try the classic, I'm like, I fall in love again.
So then I went and I tasted it here. Dude, immediately it's so much flavor. Yeah. It was so surprising. The first time I ever had the classic Ithaca hummus, my mouth, it was like an explosion of lemon flavor.
Yeah.
It's like, and of course my taste buds are low definition. Typically the best that I can manage is this is food. This is not food. That's pretty much what I got.
That's good. Basic survival.
Because of the taste buds I was given at birth and all of the poor choices I made over my life, my taste buds aren't great.
Yeah.
I can taste like garlic and kale and beets and pickled things. But dude, I'm pretty much just, this is food. This is not food. But when I tasted this hummus, it was like an explosion of flavor, even in my mouth, which means if you have anything close to regular taste buds or even refined ones like my wife and my son, you're going to love this hummus, dude. It has a beautiful, for me, like a lemon flavor and maybe like a garlic flavor.
Yeah, some garlic in there.
It is so freaking delicious, dude. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I can't get enough of it.
It's so good.
To this day, 13 years later.
This is the same recipe.
Yeah, exactly the same.
It is so good that I could literally, and after this show is over, I will eat this whole tub.
Yep.
I'm going to eat this whole tub.
People do it all the time.
It's so tasty. And for me, I started putting it on my breakfast sandwiches. I started putting it on my lunch sandwiches. Instead of mayonnaise, instead of mustard, I don't ever use mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is gross. But instead of mustard, hummus.
Yeah.
And the other flavors like jalapeno lime, I tried a lemon beet.
French onion.
Yeah, it became a way to get more flavor into my food.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's so tasty.
Yeah.
And I started serving it at my Magic the Gathering play groups so that people can dip into it between turns rather than like sitting and eating a whole meal that's going to take away from our playtime. It's so freaking delicious, dude.
Thank you.
So, you know, that's what we'll do with our guests. We'll have them try the hummus. Then we'll offer them $50 or $50 worth of sats. We won't do that here today because we'd be offering ourselves our own money.
Circular formula.
Circular economy.
Just, yeah.
Yeah. And of course we would choose sats 100%. You'd never see me choose $1.
No mystery there.
But that's kind of what we're trying to achieve, right? And we want to thank you all for listening to this episode 0. We want you to, we want you to like this video on YouTube. We want you to subscribe to this channel on YouTube. We are looking to get 1,000 subscribers as quickly as possible so that we can unlock a live show on Friday mornings where we can chat about sats as a group, right? So subscribe, join the Sat Pack, right? And we hope that you like this show in terms of what we bring to you, the kind of daily conversational aspect that you can have from it. And we hope that we hope that you share it with your friends and your family who also have questions about Bitcoin.
And don't be afraid to drop your questions right in the comments either. This is a big conversation. Tell us what you want, right? I mean, we are here all about, it's all about the community. It's all about you. How can we support the Bitcoin community? What questions do people have, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when you're listening to an episode and maybe we're talking about something that you could use a little bit more clarification on, drop it in the comments. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
If we don't know the answer, we'll find the answer.
Yes, and we're happy to take them, right? I mean, some of the things I've seen from other Bitcoiners, other podcasts, is that they're getting tired of trying to orange pill people who just don't get it.
Yeah.
And we sympathize with them for that. They have been trying for years and years and years to get people to see how important this is. And some people just can't see that, right?
You can only have the door slammed in your face so many times before you're like, you know what, I'm done with this.
But guess what? I made a career out of having the door slammed in my face.
Me too.
I can take literally an infinite amount of no's without ever stopping.
Yep.
I can take an infinite amount of rejection without ever feeling bad.
Yep.
I have a specifically broken type of personality that can cover the same territory over and over and over infinitely, but in different ways and hopefully engaging ways.
Makes up for those busted taste buds you got.
Exactly, right? and I can literally do, I have energy, right? Some folks might be tired. I have energy, and I have limitless energy. So we want you to come on the show and ask your questions, no matter how basic or dumb they might seem to you.
Yep.
We want you to put them in the comments on the YouTube video, and we want you to engage with us and get this out to everybody out there, because Bitcoin is the most important economic decision you can make in your entire life and in the life of your kids and grandkids. It is such a future forward decision that it's just unbelievable how important it is for you to understand Bitcoin now and take steps now to protect yourself from the consequences of other people holding money that is harder than yours. So like and subscribe. And also remember that our podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as financial advice. Okay. Susan wants you to believe that her words are financial advice, but we're happy to tell you that this is just our experience, strength, and hope around Bitcoin. And the guests that we have, when they come on, their views will be their own. So thanks so much for your time. We'll see you in episode 1.